Your boss just told you your hours are getting cut. Or maybe your salary is dropping 20%. Or you're being moved to a lower-paying role. Whatever the reason, your paycheck is about to get smaller, and you've got bills that don't care. This happens to millions of Americans every year. Here's how people get through it without destroying everything they've built. First thing, figure out your actual new number. If you're moving from 40 hours to 30, that's 25% less gross pay. But it's not 25% less take-home. Your tax withholding drops too. A salary cut from $60,000 to $48,000 might only reduce your monthly take-home by $800, not $1,000. Run the real numbers. Then look at your baseline expenses. Housing, utilities, minimum debt payments, insurance, groceries. These are non-negotiables. Add them up. This is your survival number. Everything else is now optional until you stabilize. Here's what research shows. The average household can cut 15 to 20% of their spending within 30 days without major lifestyle changes. That's things like subscription services they forgot about, eating out less, and pausing non-essential purchases. Some people find even more, but that first 20% is usually the easiest to trim because it's the stuff you weren't really tracking anyway. There's a hierarchy to cutting expenses. Entertainment and dining out go first. Streaming services you barely use. Gym memberships if you can work out at home. Then you look at downgrades. Cheaper phone plan. Lower internet tier. Generic brands at the grocery store. What you don't touch. Health insurance, car insurance if you drive, minimum debt payments, and housing costs, unless absolutely necessary. Many people make the mistake of stopping retirement contributions immediately. Financial planners often suggest keeping at least the employer match if you have one, because that's free money you'll never get back. But if it's a choice between that and keeping the lights on, the lights win. Let's say someone makes $52,000 a year, about $3,300 a month take-home. They get cut to $42,000, which brings take-home to about $2,700. That's a $600 monthly gap. They cut $200 in subscriptions and eating out. They drop their phone bill by $60. They switch to a cheaper grocery strategy, saving another $140. They pause their Roth IRA contribution of $200 temporarily. That's $600. They've covered the gap without touching their emergency fund or missing any bills. If you have an emergency fund, this is literally what it's for. But treat it like a strategic resource, not a free pass. Many financial experts suggest covering necessary expenses that you cannot cut before you tap the emergency fund. Once you've trimmed everything reasonable and there's still a gap, that's when the emergency fund fills it. Track every withdrawal. Set a mental limit. The goal is to slow the burn rate while you figure out your next move, whether that's a side income, a new job, or waiting out a temporary situation. About 45% of Americans who experience a pay cut start some form of side income within 3 months. Doesn't have to be a whole second job. Could be freelancing a skill you already have, driving for a rideshare service, selling stuff you don't need. The average side hustle brings in an extra $300 to $800 a month. That's often enough to close the gap while you're looking for a better primary opportunity or waiting for your situation to improve. If you have debt, the math changes. Credit card minimum payments are non-negotiable, or your interest rate spikes and your credit score tanks. Student loans, though, many of them have hardship programs or income-driven repayment plans that can lower your payment. Call your lenders before you miss anything. Same with car loans. Some lenders will defer a payment or restructure temporarily. Medical bills can often be negotiated or put on payment plans with zero interest. The worst thing you can do is just stop paying and hope it works out. One missed payment can cost you way more in fees and credit damage than it saves in the short term. Here's a real scenario. Someone takes a pay cut because their company is struggling, but they're told it's temporary. maybe 6 months. They decide to keep their housing, keep minimum retirement contributions, and use a combination of budget cuts and a small side income to bridge the gap. They tap at their emergency fund for about $1,500 total over those 6 months. When the salary restores, they rebuild the fund over the next year. Compare that to someone who knows the cut is permanent. They might choose to move to cheaper housing, find a new primary job, or make bigger structural changes because the math doesn't work long-term. When money gets tight, it's tempting to cut everything that doesn't hurt today. But some cuts hurt you later. Letting health insurance lapse can bankrupt you with one emergency. Stopping all retirement contributions means you lose years of compound growth you can never get back. Ignoring your credit score by missing payments costs you thousands in higher interest rates for years. The strategy many people use: protect the things with long-term consequences. Cut the things that are just convenient. You can always restart the fun stuff later. You can't always rebuild a credit score or recover lost retirement years easily. Data shows that most people who experience a pay cut either return to their previous income level or exceed it within 18 to 24 months. Either their original employer restores compensation or they find a better opportunity elsewhere. The key is surviving that transition period without creating new financial problems that outlast the income loss. Debt you take on now, credit damage, retirement gaps. Those can follow you for years after your income recovers. If you're facing a pay cut right now, here's the immediate checklist. Calculate your new take-home number. List your fixed expenses. Identify the gap. Cut discretionary spending until the gap closes or gets smaller. If there's still a shortfall, that's when you tap emergency savings strategically. Start exploring side income options. Call your lenders if debt payments are tight, and start planning your next move, whether that's riding it out or finding a new opportunity. This isn't forever. It's a bridge. Build it smart. Everything covered here is for educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. Every situation is different. Consider speaking with a licensed financial advisor before making any major money decisions.